What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Skill Up here. I'm currently in my hotel room in Los Angeles. It's like 3 in the morning. I'm jet lagged as all hell, cruising Reddit and the forums and Twitter and a whole bunch of places. And I'm really getting a very strong sense for where people are at right now with regards to the changes that were made for week 2 of the PTS. Many people feel like the latest changes were a significant step back. And in principle, people feel like the major thing that's changed is the availability of loot and where that loot is available. People feel like drop chances have been nerfed considerably, and they really seized upon this comment that was made by Massive that the open world should be sort of a bit of a side activity. It shouldn't be too attractive, otherwise there would be no reason to go into the dark zone. Many people have sort of taken this comment as a real indication that Massive is really out of touch and that Massive is trying to tell us how to play the game when they shouldn't. One very interesting thread on Reddit written by a guy who says he was a hedge fund manager believes that comments like this are proof that Massive as a company will fail. I kind of feel like I need to sort of say something on this now because it's really reached fever pitch, I feel, across all the different communication forums that we use with regards to this game. The idea that you are now forced into the dark zone could not be more wrong. If you have a look at the way the reward structure has changed across the entirety of the game, there is absolutely no reason for you whatsoever to go into the dark zone now, unless you want to go into the dark zone to PvP. It's as simple as that. You know, before, and I'd actually made a video about this very specific topic, it was actually a bit of a requirement for us to go into the DZ to gear up, because the reward structure in the rest of the game was so unwelcoming and unrewarding that we kind of had to do that, you know. So if you imagine, we would be able to run our weekly sort of incursions, and they'd have bonus drop chance, and that's great. Incursions, though, were just ludicrously overtuned in patch 1.3, and they just weren't fun to complete. Very hard to find groups because a lot of people had quit the game. All of the regular missions didn't drop loot that progressed our characters at all. There was no ability to craft any gear, so that was off the table as well. Character progression was very much about, you know, do you want to do an incursion, which is very, very difficult generally speaking, or do you want to brave it in the dark zone? And unquestionably, even between the choice of the incursion and the dark zone was always the better option from a loot perspective. It was no question about it. It was the fastest way to get loot, so long as you were with a group of people, you could handle the PvP, you could successfully extract your items. The challenge, of course, being that most people aren't in this position where they're able to do that. Most people are playing solo with 1 or 2 other people, and then really sort of, it's very frustrating to head into the DZ wanting to farm and then having that experience upset by people who are looking to PvP. So my video that went out a while back was basically saying that while you are incentivizing PvE focused players to enter the dark zone, and you don't give PvP players anywhere else to PvP, you're always going to have a very unsatisfied group of players on both the PvE and PvP side, because PvEers just want to get on with their thing, and PvPers want a real PvP challenge that sort of makes them feel like they're, you know, playing a proper skill-based tactical shooter. So and I basically said that the way to fix this was to realign the reward structure by making the open world, or I guess the light zone or outside of that, more rewarding, while simultaneously actually making PvP itself in the dark zone a more rewarding activity through funds and caches and these sorts of things, right? Now, both of those things have absolutely happened in this patch, right? Outside of the dark zone, there is now an open world that you can cruise, and you can just, you know, kill stuff, and you can just farm to your heart's content. There are bosses there. They reset once every 24 hours after you kill them. They drop plenty of nice loot that's sort of appropriate to your level. So that's just one activity. If we look at the high value target activities, which are another open world thing you can do, and we look at the weekly high cost, high risk target contract, that will get you from the boss alone, you get 1 gear set, 1 high end, and 1 high end mod, okay? And then as the mission reward, you get 2 gear set items, 1 high-end item, 1 high-end weapon, and 70 Phoenix credits. Now that's the most lucrative high-value target you can do each week. And obviously there's all the other ones that you can do, which are pretty generous as well, and that's just that. If we look at regular challenge mode missions that you're able to do as well, they give you guaranteed 1 high-end, guaranteed 1 gear set, set, guaranteed 1 high-end mod, and that's just from the boss. And from the actual mission reward, you get 2 high-end items or gear set items and 30 Phoenix credits. If we look at Underground and we do it on challenge mode, you get 2 high-end or gear sets guaranteed, you get 1 gear set item guaranteed, and you get 1 chance at a high-end mod. And finally, for those brave enough to enter the incursions, 1 incursion on heroic mode from the boss will get you 2 high-end or gear set items, 1 high-end weapon, 1 gear set item, 1 high-end mod, 1 chance at a named weapon, 120 Phoenix credits, and the reward from the mission will get you 2 gear set items, 1 high-end weapon, and 1 high-end or gear set item. So that's just like a lot of loot, and that's not to mention the fact that while you're doing this mission, any of the enemies that you kill also have a chance to drop regular loot, except on incursions. Incursion enemies do not drop loot, but everything else does. So there is so much loot flowing in that's just crazy, right? And on top of that, crafting is also back in a very big way. There are actually proper 229 level weapon and gear set patterns that are now available to us. We can buy those if we have the right amount of Phoenix credits or underground rep or regular credits or whatever, and they allow us to literally craft high-end gear that in a way that we were not able to do in patch 1.3. So that's the PvE endgame now, with just tons of loot flowing. You've got the open world, you've got every mob having a chance to drop something, you've got high value targets, you've got the underground, you've got incursions, you have regular challenge or sort of, you know, challenge mode missions, or not even just challenge mode missions. Any difficulty that you do in World Tier 4 will give you items. It's just a question of how many of them you get. So there's a lot of loot flowing in that context. So any suggestion now that you need to enter the Dark Zone to gear up is completely crazy. And furthermore, on the Dark Zone side, things are even better there itself, in the sense that like now they're going to add sealed caches on, you know, that you can purchase for Dark Zone funds. So people who do PvP, who are getting plenty of Dark Zone funds, are now going to be able to spend those funds to get more items, while they're also going to be, you know, PvEing and extracting items and killing other players and all that sort of stuff that, you know, that PvPers really enjoy. You know, I personally do not enjoy PvP in the Division in its current form. I think the Dark Zone is not for me, right? But obviously in the past, I felt like I needed to do it because I needed to gear up. I do not need to do the Dark Zone anymore. I don't need to go in there. I'm a PvE focused player at this point. Even though I love PvP in other games, I don't like it in the Division, and now I'm not forced to do it. So all of these people who are talking about, you know, how Massive is trying to force us back into the DZ and really railing against the DZ experience, fair enough. If you don't like the DZ, I'm with you, man. I don't like it either, but you don't need to do it anymore. And I just want to put that out there really clearly so the whole community knows this. I mean, I know most of you do, but certainly a lot of people don't. You do not need to PvP in this game at the moment. There is, of course, and there remains a very large gap for a proper, balanced, competitive PvP game mode in this game. You know, who knows when that will be filled? It will not be filled anytime soon. I personally am willing to wait for that because I really think that PvP in this game could be fantastic. I think it could be balanced and strategic and tactical and interesting and great, but it's not here yet. So I'm going to keep waiting for that. But while I do that, I'm going to be PvEing. I'll still step into the Dark Zone a little bit, I reckon, just to muck around when I'm in the mood. But my focus is going to be PvE while I wait for the PvP game to be filled out. Massive did specifically say that this was going to be a focus for them after patch 1.4. So whether or not that comes through in survival or something after that, I don't know. But for now, my focus is on just enjoying the PvE side of the game. There is tons of loot there, guys. You are not going to be wanting for loot. You will not struggle to gear up your character. For any of you guys that haven't been able to get onto the PTS, I can tell you, within a span of like 6 or 7 hours, you will have more loot than you can fit into your vault. You know, like that's how much loot you are getting, and that's outside the Dark Zone, mind you. So don't worry, if the DZ wasn't for you before, it doesn't have to be now. The big difference being the reward structure no longer forces you into the DZ. You can just go out there, you can grind the PvE world, and you can do really well. Anyway guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, do drop it a like, and share this video as well if you don't mind. I really want to try and get the word out there because there's just a lot of misinformation going around at the moment about you know, Massive trying to force us into the PvP game and all this sort of stuff. None of it's true. None of it's true. They're opening up options for us, and I think the more people know that, the more likely we are to welcome players back to this game and to sort of recommence growing this community, which is what the game really needs at this point. So yeah, get the word out, people. Either way, thank you very much for watching. Take good care, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.